Hello, my name is Larry Boone. I'm a professor of management at the Peter J. Tobin College of Business at St. John's University in Queens, New York. I'm also a fellow at the Vincentian Center for Church and Society at St. John's University. And my topic today is financial planning support for parish planning. I've organized my material into three basic parts. First, I'll talk about parish planning process in overview. And I'll talk about the support function for parish planning, that is financial planning. And lastly, I'll do a little example that includes bringing forward three strategic initiatives that we will assume have been brought from the parish planning group and presented to the financial committee for evaluation and discussion. Let's look at the overview of the planning process. Planning starts with mission. Mission is the enduring statement of purpose for the parish. Mission is broken down further into vision. Vision is a statement that is meant to be inspiring, meant to be forward-looking, meant to provide a big picture for what the parishioners would like to achieve in the next 3 to 5 year planning period. Vision is broken down into goals. Goals are specific statements of what the parish wants to achieve, usually expressed on an annual basis. Goals, of course, are fleshed out by strategies. Strategies are the definition of how the parish will accomplish its specific goals. The next step is resource allocation. Resource allocation is where the Finance Committee typically comes in. It's certainly where they play their most significant part. In resource allocation, long-term financial plans are built, and of course, annual budgets are established. The last step of the planning process is performance measurement, which is the establishment of a scorecard so that parish leaders can assess their achievement step by step in putting the vision into practice. It's important, I think, to remember that parish planning means establishing and communicating direction and priorities for the future. It's a process that is meant to motivate parishioners and should invite parishioners to participate. By participation, I mean contribute ideas. Contribute ideas for how we can be better in the future, what we can do differently in terms of programs, or liturgies, or training, or additional equipment or facilities that would allow the parish to help parishioners attain their needs and wants. In the parish planning process, also, a rationale is established for decisions. As I indicated earlier, priorities for action are established, what's more important than other things, and criteria for budgetary decisions are established. Who participates in the planning process? Of course, the leader is the pastor. The pastor has the formal authority and responsibility for planning the future of his parish. A pastoral leader may be involved. The pastoral council often is involved. Or perhaps a planning team is empowered by the pastor to lead the planning process. Other participants typically are members of the pastoral staff, leaders of lay ministries, and leaders of the parish community. Finance committee members may participate from beginning to end, participating in the multi-month process that planning usually requires. Or Finance Committee members may be brought into the process at the very end stages once ideas have been surfaced so that they can be evaluated in terms of affordability. What's the role of the Finance Committee? I think it's important to realize the role includes encouraging visioning, supporting creative thinking so that ideas are elicited from parishioners, especially the members of the parish planning team, so that they feel free in bringing up ideas that might contribute to a better future for the parish. When ideas are first exposed, they should not be met with obstacles. This is not the time to tell people that their ideas are not affordable. That may come later in the process. But initially, Finance Committee members should see themselves as facilitators, people who can provide alternatives for funding initiatives. By alternatives, I mean, for example, looking at the cost of a particular strategic initiative and saying that for an initiative this large, a special fundraising effort would probably be necessary. Are you willing to take that step? The Finance Committee members may look at a particular initiative's costs and say, that can only be afforded if the regular weekly giving in the parish increases by something like 1.5%. Putting into perspective the additional expenses, especially compared against revenues, can help committee members determine whether or not they think an idea should go forward in the planning process. Another possibility for members of the Finance Committee is to look at potential cost savings or budgetary reductions. Perhaps by providing a benchmark in assessing the affordability of a strategic initiative, by saying that that can only be afforded if we take $25,000 out of our current program expenditures. Is it worth it? What do we mean by allocating resources? I'm sure you're well aware. Resource allocation means judging the most effective use of a parish's limited resources, such as people, money, facilities, equipment, and time. And coming to a reasoned judgment in matching existing resources to the Planning Committee's prioritized goals and strategies. In other words, deciding which is more feasible, achieving what we can in the parish with our existing resources, or putting in the effort to obtain additional resources. Let's look at a financial plan. A plan, of course, is a document that specifies the funds that are needed by a parish for a period of time, the timing of inflows and outflows, and the most appropriate sources and uses of funds. A financial plan helps to answer three basic questions. What funds will be required during the planning period? That's the how much question. How will necessary funds be obtained? That's the sources question. And lastly, when will more funds be needed? That's the timing question. A financial plan answers those three important questions. How much, sources, and when? What's the timing of our needs? Let's look at an example. Let's assume that a parish planning committee has brought forward to the Finance Committee three prioritized strategic initiatives. In priority order, the Planning Committee would like to develop a website to promote interactive communication in online prayer groups. Secondly, create welcoming and hospitality ministries. And thirdly, establish a sister parish in a developing country. What are the financial planning steps that the Finance Committee might go through? My suggestion is first, using Excel, create a 5-year high-level parish statement of revenues and expenditures. Keep it high level. Keep the categories broad for all revenue items and expenditure items. Make sure that the financial plan can be fit on one page. And try to use as few financial terms as possible. This will encourage consumption by the non-financial members of the parish planning team. Next, establish future assumptions for all revenue and expenditure categories. For example, if you are forecasting weekly collection revenues into the future, you might look at past increases from past years. You might realize the trends have been in the past few years that a 2% increase in weekly donations is realized every year. It would make sense, therefore, to create an assumption in your financial planning model that going forward for the next 5 years, weekly collections will increase by 2% per year.